Week 4 of the Diddy trial has started, and allegedly Justin Bieber is finally speaking out against Diddy. Cassie mentioned Usher in her testimony and told the jury how Usher would watch as Diddy violently her. Usher didn't stop Diddy when Diddy was abusing Justin, and he helped Diddy cover up his tracks. Now Justin is finally speaking out against Diddy and exposing everyone that was with him.
Dawn Richards says she wasn't alone in witnessing Sean Diddy Combs' abuse. During her second day of testimony in the music mogul's federal trial, the 41-year-old described an alleged 2010 incident of Combs punching then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura at a West Hollywood, California restaurant and said Usher was also a witness to the event. During her testimony May 19th per NBC News, which had a reporter in the courtroom, she said, quote, Mr. Combs punched Cassie in the stomach. They were having a private conversation and then he punched her in the stomach. She immediately leaned over and left. In addition to Usher, Richard, who is a member of the girl group Danity Kane, which was formed on Combs' show Making the Band in 2004, alleged that other musicians, including singer Neo, record exec Jimmy Iovine, and rapper Big Daddy Kane were present as well. When Richard and Ventura got into a car to leave after the alleged restaurant incident, Richard said another physical altercation took place between Combs, who has pleaded not guilty to all charges, and his then-girlfriend. She continues in her testimony, quote, we got in the car to head back to her house. Combs grabbed her, slapped her, popped her in the mouth, and told her to shut the f*** up. Everyone was quiet.
Evidence from the trial is finally being released on the topic, and Justin Bieber's rep has issued a statement. Justin says that there was real abuse being carried out behind the scenes, and his heart goes out to the people Diddy was hurting. Diddy was sexually abusing Justin and Usher. This is why Justin distanced himself from Usher, and why Usher is now worried about what Justin might say. Allegedly, Justin is one of the anonymous victims that the feds plan to call.
Justin Bieber breaking his silence on the ordeal after months of speculation over their one-time relationship. His rep telling ET, although Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims, there are individuals who were genuinely harmed by him. Shifting focus away from this reality detracts from the justice these victims rightfully deserve. Bieber's questionable connection to Diddy piquing interest online as the rap mogul's indictment for sex trafficking and racketeering charges, which he denies, made headlines. Old clips of the two hanging out while Justin was underage resurfacing.
Let's just go get some girls. Let's go get some girls.
Man after my heart, that's what I'm talking about.
We hit him like this, so me and you walking, we hanging out, a little later on the night after the Usher concert.
There's also this old Jimmy Kimmel Live segment, adding to fan fears about what might have gone down with Diddy.
Got me a Lamborghini.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last
He
time.
had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
Oh, apparently not.
Some things, everything ain't for everybody.
This all comes as Bieber's followers are worried for him, the singer's erratic social media posts causing concern week after week, the Beliebers asking if what he's seen behind the scenes of the industry.
I'm begging you, Rob.
Yeah, no, I mean, to a lot of us, he's like a little brother. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid to call and ask for advice. He's somebody that, in the industry-wise, the record industry is a strong family, and he's somebody that, we definitely have our arms around, and we want to protect him because he's such genuinely a nice person besides his talent. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the greatest kids that you could ever know.
Justin, Diddy bought his son a Bentley. Maybe, he could buy you one also while you're out.
Got me a Lamborghini.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
Yeah, I know. When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last time.
He had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television. What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything?
Yeah.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 55.
Care about, guys. It's money. You don't care about people. Only money. Only money. No people. You don't care about human beings. Go. Go. Go.
Shockingly, it's not just Usher who is being named in connection to Diddy. Some of the biggest names in Hollywood, including Kanye West, T.D. Jakes, and even Ashton Kutcher, have been named in this trial. The real conspiracy goes a lot deeper than what any of us can imagine. Every person who has tried to expose Diddy in the last 10 years has somehow died of pneumonia. As we peel back the layers of this trial, more and more skeletons are being pulled out of Diddy's closet.
Here's why Michael B. Jordan, Kanye West, and more celebrities were name-dropped at Sean Diddy Combs' trial. As jury selection in the mogul's sex trafficking trial got underway May 5th in New York, NBC News reports prospective jurors were shown a list of more than 100 names of people and places that may be referenced during the trial, including actors Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, and rapper Kanye West. While the aforementioned celebrities are not implicated in the case, the potential jurors were asked whether they knew any of the names listed and whether it would impact their ability to be impartial, per the outlet. Attorneys did not share an explanation for the list. The names of women who have taken legal action against Combs were also on the list, including his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, whose November 2023 sexual abuse lawsuit against the rapper was settled one day after it was filed. Danity Kane alum Don Richard, who accused Combs of sexual assault in a lawsuit filed in September, was also listed. Combs has denied any wrongdoing in both cases.
In the days coming up to the trial, Diddy had started to threaten everyone that he feared could come up against him, and allegedly one of these people was Justin. Justin's mental health was destroyed because of Diddy's threats and the fact that he could be called to testify. Footage of Justin crying in Haley's lap and reports that he was struggling with drug use were leaked.
I don't think he's coming back out anytime soon.
I'm scared that the security will pull out a fucking running to Harry Potter.
I do feel bad sorry for him. We're all trying to bombard. Oh my god, I thought a vehicle to me.
Justin Bieber's rep is breaking their silence on recent rumors regarding drug use. A rep for the singer, who shares 6-month-old son Jack Blues Bieber with wife Hailey Bieber, is firing back at recent claims that Justin has been using hard drugs. His rep tells TMZ on February 23rd that it's, quote, absolutely not true. His team adds that it's been a very transformative year for Justin as he, quote, ended several close friendships and business relationships that no longer served him. As Justin's 31st birthday approaches on March 1st, he's focused on his family and his music, not speculation about his health, which his rep calls, quote, exhausting and pitiful, and shows that despite the obvious truth, people are committed to keeping negative, salacious, harmful narratives alive.
Justin has been struggling with drug use for years now. Allegedly, all of this started after Justin was abused by Diddy. According to Terrence Howard, people like Justin Bieber and Usher are suffering mentally and take drugs to drown the memories of their abuse. Justin has talked about his past. During an interview with Apple TV, Justin talked about how he wanted to protect minors Billie Eilish, and how he had noticed that Billie might be in danger. This is what Usher should have done instead of continuing the cycle of abuse that Diddy started.
I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And what we were brought in here as men. We produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, she can count on me. But at the end of the day, I'm never gonna force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So I just kind of, let her do her thing, and if she ever needs me, I'm gonna be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments, because people take for granted encounters, and yeah. So yeah, I just want to protect her, I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
The worst part about this entire situation is that Diddy would have never been able to abuse anyone if the people around him didn't allow him to. The only reason Diddy even got access to 13-year-old Justin Bieber was because Usher allowed him. Usher handed over custody of Justin to Diddy, and for the next 48 hours, Diddy left scars on Justin that affect him even to this day.
They wouldn't let him. Actually, someone made reference to the fact that Diddy trying to get at Bieber the way he was trying to get at Bieber was looking a little predatory. And then Usher came in and discovered it and managed him and got custody of him and promised to look after him. And then he sent him to the diddler. Does that sound like a good guy?
It's horrible.
Does that sound like a good guy? Now that we know what Diddy's really like, what kind of f***ing asshole do you gotta be to take another boy, another talented boy, and put him in your place so it ain't gotta be you no more? Because that's what pedophiles do. They get victims, and then once they get to a certain age and they get too old for them to enjoy them, they send them out to go get other young kids. Now, if Usher is a procurer, and if Usher knew what was gonna happen to any of those young children that he took to the Flavor Freak off, is he a good guy? Especially considering what happened to him, especially considering that he sat with Howard Stern, and Howard Stern said, would you send your kids to Puffy's Flavor Camp? And his immediate response was, hell no! So it's good enough for everybody else's kids, but it's not good enough for yours.
As a result of the abuse that Usher enabled, Justin is still scarred. He has stepped away from Usher completely, and during a deposition a few years ago, even said that Usher was the worst thing that ever happened to him. Justin has unfollowed Usher, a man who calls himself Justin's mentor, and during Usher's Super Bowl performance, he refused to perform with him.
You get career, do you know Raymond Usher the Fourth?
No.
Do you know an individual, an entertainer by the name of Usher?
Yeah, Usher, that sounds familiar.
Isn't it true that Usher was instrumental in starting your career?
What does that have to do with this litigation, Mr. DeKalb? This is just you trying to harass the client.
Before we came back here, you had asked me.
She's going to
let her read back the question. Thank you for your memory.
Is it true that Usher was very instrumental in starting the career?
That was the last question.
I was found on YouTube. I think that I was detrimental to my own career.
The Bieber, Justin Bieber, is continuing the purge. He has now moved to unfollow Usher, okay, his original mentor. So this is a very big story. And the reason why we should discuss this and we should not diminish what is happening, it's not celebrity drama. This is actually the fall of Babylon that we are witnessing, Hollywood Babylon, that is. Of course, many people, I believe, are accurately assuming that this has something to do, one element has to do with the Diddy lawsuit. A lot of revelations were made in the Diddy lawsuit. So I'm going to start this by saying allegedly. Okay, obviously, he has not yet been convicted of everything, but I knew that he was going to get arrested because after reading through this lawsuit, there were just so many pictures, way too many descriptions. He had hours of video footage proving his claims. I'm referring to the person who initially filed this, Rodney Lil Rod, a producer who went into great detail, laborious effort to basically describe almost a homosexual ring in which people were being drugged at various Diddy parties. But he describes how essentially him, being a young producer, they tried to initiate him into homosexuality. And I'm going to read this directly from a lawsuit. It says, quote, Mr. Combs, that's Diddy, used access to Stevie J and his knowledge that the producer, Mr. Jones, admired Stevie J to groom and enticed Mr. Jones to engage in homosexuality. But then there's a footnote in the filing, right? Because the names are redacted. And in the footnote, it reads that regarding the R&B singer that Diddy allegedly slept with, he performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. So this let people know that very clearly the name that was redacted had to have been Usher, because it was Usher who recently performed at the Super Bowl, and it was Usher at the time of this filing who had just had a very successful Vegas residency.
Usher never cared about Justin. Just look at how Usher laughed at him when his private pictures got leaked as a minor.
And then you have him come to audition for you, right?
Actually, with a few people. My wife at the time.
Right.
It also was Perry Reed, L.A. Reid's first wife.
So you were all sitting in a room somewhere?
We were in a room.
Yeah.
And I showed her the video. And Perry says, "Are you crazy? You better get down there and meet this kid right now. He's amazing."
When all these pics come out and all this stuff with Bieber's big penis, are you the mastermind behind that? Say, listen, show off your big penis and people will come to those concerts? Or are you sitting there?
Is that the kind of manager he's doing?
Usher, are you sitting down with him and saying, yeah, show your cock, or leave it in your pants? I mean, do you sit him down and say, look, part of this is PR,
Hey,
man.
by the way, he does have a brain of his own.
Yeah, but were you shocked at the size of his penis?
Hey, listen, he has a mind of his own. What he chose to do with his penis is his prerogative. He's managing that aspect of his life.
But Usher is somebody...
I have nothing to do with Justin Bieber's private parts, man. Come on.
The reason Justin never spoke out against Diddy is because he knew nothing would happen even if he did speak out. Kid Cudi reported to the cops that Diddy had broken into his house and set his car on fire. Fingerprints were collected from the scene, but somehow the evidence was destroyed. Why is that every time an investigation happens, nothing is discovered?
Court has adjourned today in the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Today, the defense requested a mistrial following testimony from an LA arson investigator, but the judge denied the request. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
A mistrial request denied in the federal criminal trial of Sean Diddy Combs. His defense team accusing the government of prosecutorial misconduct during the testimony of a Los Angeles arson investigator who spoke about fingerprints that were lifted from the front door of rapper Kid Cudi's home as part of an investigation into a break-in there in 2011. The investigator testifying that those fingerprints were destroyed, and when prosecutors asked the investigator if that was unusual, the defense accused them of trying to plant the idea that Combs was responsible.
The overall implication, according to the defense, is that somehow Sean Combs created that disappearance. The defense moved for a mistrial, and they moved for it because what they said is it's unduly prejudiced, because this is the whole theory of what the prosecution is putting forth, is that he has this control and can make these investigations disappear.
Instead, the judge striking that part of the testimony, telling jurors to disregard it. Right before, the jury heard from a police officer who responded to that break-in, testifying that he saw a black Escalade leaving the scene with plates registered to Combs' company Bad Boy Productions. The arson investigator also testifying about another incident at Kid Cudi's home in 2012 when his Porsche was set on fire. He testified about the smoke and fire damage in these photos that were shown to the jury and said he determined the fire was targeted and investigation started with the Molotov cocktail. Kid Cudi last week testified he believed Combs was responsible for both incidents after finding out he was dating Cassie Ventura.
Evidence of Diddy engaging in freak-offs, even after the raid on his house, is being presented in court. On the day of his arrest, a month after his mansion had been raided and 1,000 bottles of baby oil were collected, Diddy was still engaging in freak-off sessions. On the fifth day of the trial, Homeland Security Officer Special Agent Yasin Binda took the stand as well, telling the court how at the time of his arrest, officers found Diddy in a hotel room with $9,000 in cash and several bags full of baby oil and Astroglide.
First look inside Combs' Miami mansion, the day federal agents busted the gate open last year to raid it. A federal agent testifying about the evidence, guns and ammo seized from Diddy's home that were found near alleged freak-off supplies, which included dozens of bottles of baby oil and boxes of platform heels, bondage restraints, and bundles of rope. Also photographed as evidence that day, motivational messages on Combs' bathroom mirror that included "You a legend" and "Upward motion," and drugs. Lots of drugs, including ones found in plastic bags inside a Gucci bag and orange tablets with the Tesla logo that tested positive for ecstasy.
So we just got new exhibits today. Take a look at these photos that prosecutors have just released. They're pictures of Diddy's former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, with what she says are bruises on her back and legs, which you can see here, and also a gash above her eye. Also released today, some pictures from when Diddy was arrested in September of last year at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York. And a special agent with Homeland Security testified last week that some of the items found included baby oil, drugs, these pink packets of ketamine. There's also this image of a knife wedged in a door. Now, Combs, we aren't sure if he's going to be taking a stand in his own defense, but he denies all of the allegations against him. But will all of these witnesses really prove the government's charges that he was running this criminal empire and that he's guilty of?
Diddy's lawyers are now trying to discredit the victims who spoke out against Diddy. Mia, one of the anonymous victims testifying against Diddy, is being questioned by the lawyers, and they claim that if Diddy had actually abused her, she would have reported it earlier. Mia, on the other hand, claims that Diddy brainwashed her and made her believe that if he ever went to the cops, he would unalive her.
Here in New York, we are in week 4 of Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial. The music mogul has pleaded not guilty to federal charges against him. Prosecutors continue to call witnesses who say they were victims of Combs' alleged abuse. Jerika Duncan has the latest, and we warned you that some of the details may be disturbing.
A former personal assistant for Sean Diddy Combs returned to the stand Monday after accusing the rap mogul of physical abuse and sexual assault. Testifying under the pseudonym Mia to protect her privacy, she alleges that Combs groped and raped her. She told the jury she didn't speak up because she, quote, would have been silenced and would have lost everything. On cross-examination, defense attorney Brian Steele tried to undermine Mia's account, insinuating she lied about the abuse and was after Combs' money.
This is the type of questioning you do in a he said, she said type of situation where there is no corroboration. This was the perfect opportunity for the defense to get aggressive, to point out those inconsistencies.
Steele showed jurors dozens of examples of Mia sending friendly, supportive texts to Combs for years after her employment with him had ended. Steele also emphasized that before the trial, Mia didn't mention sexual assault allegations until after Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. On the stand, Mia told the jury, "I have never lied in this courtroom. Everything I've said is true." She testified that she didn't come forward sooner about alleged abuse because she was, quote, terrified and brainwashed after working for Combs.
It only takes one juror to throw a wrench in the prosecution's plan and not get a conviction. If even one juror gets back there in that deliberation room and causes some reasonable doubt, that could be the defense's case.
Brian, the defense is working hard to portray Mia as an unreliable witness. In your opinion, is it working?
So, yes and no, and I'm sorry to give you the legal answer, Kira, and this is why I say that. I don't think the defense has gotten to a point where we can call Mia an unreliable witness, but I do think they are working towards the idea that some of what she's saying can be questioned. Specifically, they're looking at these allegations and putting them next to these messages, that even some days after the alleged sexual assault and rape of Mia by Sean Combs, all the way up until 3.5 years, she's still sending these loving messages. And it's her explanations that I think are raising a few eyebrows as to why she kept doing that I think people are starting to say that doesn't quite make sense. But I still do believe, based on what she's saying and how she's reacting, that she is a victim of trauma. So that question mark often favors the defense, but I don't think it's fair, to say that Mia is an unreliable witness.
So Mia testified that she was brainwashed by Combs. Is that testimony helpful to explain the reason she may have sent those loving messages?
If it's helpful to anyone, I think it's probably more helpful for the defense. And I'm just going to quickly read my notes right here because it was somewhat jumbled and confusing. And that's why I think confusion for a victim is helpful to the defense. She said the reason why she was brainwashed, or the meaning of brainwashed to her, was that she was in an environment where the highs were really high and the lows were really low. She couldn't trust her instincts, that she was punished for the work that she'd done, and she worked to get into a good place. And she was trying to just, I guess, trained to react to make sure you keep Sean Combs happy, and if you don't, you get punished and argued. And she was consistently seeking his approval, and that he was the only authority figure that she really knew.
Other victims of Diddy have also testified in the trial, saying that Diddy threatened them and told them he would leak their freak-off tapes if they went to the cops. Stylist Deontay Nash, fire investigator Lance Jimenez, and LAPD officer Chris Ignacio were called to testify today, and they all gave solid testimonies proving that Diddy is violent.
With us, day 11 of testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking and racketeering trial. A former stylist for Sean Diddy Combs taking the stand, testifying about the tumultuous relationship between Cassie Ventura and the music mogul, saying he heard Combs call Ventura insulting names and threatened to her. The stylist also testified he heard Combs tell Cassie that he wouldn't put her music out, that he would get her parents fired from their jobs, that he would put out sex tapes. Now, earlier today, the judge denying the defense's motion for a mistrial after a Los Angeles Fire Department arson investigator testified that fingerprint evidence from the suspected break-in of rapper Kid Cudi's house was destroyed. That investigator testified he did not order the prints destroyed. The fire department concluding that the 2012 fire set inside Kid Cudi's car was caused by a makeshift firebomb known as a Molotov cocktail. The investigator telling the jury, quote, "Somebody had lit it, cut the roof, and dropped it in the front seat. In my opinion, it was targeted." And weeks after testifying as the prosecution's star witness, we learned today that Cassie Ventura has given birth to her third child. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His defense team says any sexual encounters were consensual. If convicted, Combs faces the possibility of life in prison.
Dawn Richard, a former Danity Kane member, also testified that Usher had seen Combs punch Ventura in 2010 at a restaurant in West Hollywood. Mr. Combs punched Cassie in the stomach. They were having a private conversation, and he punched her in the stomach. She immediately leaned over and left.
Signed them on the 6051 form. What was found in the closet? They then show a picture to the jury, and it was plastic bags full of Johnson & Johnson baby oil and Astroglide bottles. And you're telling me Diddy is still doing this, knowing that they have already raided his house, knowing that they are about to blow down on him? What was found in the bathroom? Several bottles of baby oil, and they show that picture to the jury. Now the bedroom. What was found in the Louis Vuitton bag? Medication in the name of Frank Black. That is the name that Cassie Ventura said Diddy used as an alias. And what was the medicine? Bags of pink powder found in the medicine bottles. And then they showed a picture to the jury of it being found and tested by Customs and Border Patrol. Reading from the slip where they tested it from, the pink powder was found to be K and MDMA in the bottle. And then they actually passed around the physical evidence to the jury. What was found in the black mini backpack? $9,000.
For years, the industry protected Diddy, and now the people he hurt are stepping into the light. Justin Bieber's voice, long silenced by fear, loyalty, and trauma, might just be the key that breaks the cycle. As more names surface and more secrets are dragged into court, it's clear this is no longer just a trial. It's a reckoning. The victims deserve justice. The enablers deserve exposure. And Diddy, he might finally be out of time. This story is still developing. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this explosive case.